Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Chris 6 Sunrise.
Yes, we're so glad to have you here. Here's a look at what stories we're covering in your neighborhood.
Neighborhood News reporter Tony Jaramillo finally got an exclusive tour of two CCISD schools that were facing closure. He shows us the issues he found with both Southside campuses.
While driving, you've probably noticed a vehicle pulled over or an emergency vehicle rushing to get somewhere. I'm Alexis Scott on North Beach, talking with DPS about a new initiative urging drivers to move over or slow down.
How hot is too hot? I'm Michaela Chavez, your neighborhood news reporter on the South Side, sharing alternatives and safety measures for when it comes to getting in some exercise outside.
Good morning, folks. Happy Thursday and welcome to Chris 6 Sunrise. You're waking up with the Hoffmans. I'm Michelle Hoffman.
And I'm Brian Hoffman. It is going to be a scorcher out there, just like it has been for the last couple of days. And we only have one person to blame, right? We're going to talk about that later on. But first off, we're going to go with something a little bit easier. It's the traffic for people that are just heading out there on the roadways. Stephanie Lauber standing by. Morning, Steph.
Good morning. Yeah, traffic is easier. We still have a few spots where the visibility is not ideal. No perfect 10s all across the board, but still a decent commute for most folks out there. So here's a look at where we may have some of that haziness taking over along the commute. So 281. Yeah, if you're taking that through Alice and Jim Wells County, you're going to see that drop to about 4 miles of visibility. Highway 35 in Rockport, another place where we're down to 6 miles of visibility. And along 361 between the island and Port A, we're seeing that visibility drop from 8 miles of visibility to 7 by the time you get to Port A. Overall, not too bad. But how are we looking on the roadways here in Corpus Christi? Well, if you're coming in from Portland, no issues over 181 in the Harbor Bridge. 37 and 44 are looking good, but starting to get a little busy on this crosstown interchange. Just a little bit of activity picking up there. Across all the major thoroughfares here in town, no slowdowns to report. So into the Bluff we go, where the commute to NAS Corpus Christi has been a little sluggish this morning. Our speeds fluctuating between about 10 and 20 miles per hour. So maybe give yourself a little bit of extra time, but really doing pretty well in the Bluff and across the JFK Causeway. So as you head out, make sure you stay safe and you drive safe. That's a look at your traffic report. I'll be back with your weather on the 6s in just a few.
Thanks, I appreciate it. We're going to get to your neighbor news in just a little bit, but first we have a look at some national headlines, important ones too. The U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear oral arguments today in a case about birthright citizenship. And last month, the justices allowed an executive order to temporarily remain in place that substantially limited birthright citizenship. So birthright citizenship automatically makes anyone born in the United States an American citizen. It's in the Constitution. It includes children born to mothers in the country illegally. 22 states and immigrants' rights groups, have sued to block the executive order, stay the executive order, that the administration is trying to upend the longtime understanding of the 14th Amendment. Coming up at 6:30, we're going to be checking in with Scripps News Group Joe St. George. He's going to have more on what's going on today in Washington. And President Trump is headed to Abu Dhabi today, where he will wrap up his first major international trip since returning to office. The president's trip has made major waves after he announced a $200 billion deal for Qatar to buy 160 jets from Boeing. Trump also announced his plans to lift sanctions on Syria and met with the country's new leader.
Nueces County officials will be in Petronila today to inspect other areas of the neighborhood that might need to be included in storm cleanup. Now, yesterday, brush trucks from Frontier Waste Solutions began picking up the debris in Petronila estates. Last Thursday's storm ravaged the area, leaving many without power and others without their homes. Neighbors are happy the cleanup has begun, but say it's just scratching the surface.
We're asking for help because we need help. We need help. Somebody give their money to help us. There's a lot of people that don't have no house at all.
Pickup will continue through Friday, and you can stop for the weekend, or it will stop for the weekend rather, and then start back up again on Monday. After the cleanup comes the rebuild, right? And for many neighbors, that means facing major repairs and tough decisions. So if you're planning on hiring someone, beware of scammers. Do some research before you sign on the dotted line as well. Look for businesses that are licensed, insured, and have verified customer reviews. Get multiple written bids and avoid contractors who request large payments up front or insist on cash only. Establish a timeline, ask how long repairs will take, and insist on a written contract and add any verbal promises to it.
I'm Tony Jaramillo, your neighborhood news reporter on the South Side. Shannon Estates Elementary and Castores Elementary have both recently faced potential closures for different reasons. And CCISD took me on an exclusive tour of both campuses, and here's where things stand now. The first stop of my tour with CCISD's Executive Director of Construction and Project Management, Trent Wagner, was at Shannon Estate Elementary. The roof's unique design causes rainwater to collect and leak into classrooms, and the water can also contain asbestos. The building's plumbing and chiller lines are also failing. Shortly after, Wagner took me to Castores Elementary, which has issues of its own, including a 33-year-old roof that also leaks and needs replacing, and a 14-year-old chiller system that was taken from Crockett Elementary before it was demolished.
Cold water lines need to be replaced. The entire chiller system needs to be revamped.
Despite the issues I saw, Wagner says the district is confident that students and staff are safe and says that campuses will remain open for at least the 2025-2026 school year. For now, CCISD says there's no set date for when discussions about either campus will resume. On the South Side, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tony Jaramillo, Chris 6 News.
Hey there, good morning. Happy almost Friday. On this Thursday, we are looking at a very humid day. And once we compound that with the fact that we've had very warm temperatures, hot for this time of the year, we are looking at what is going to be a tough day for those feels like temperatures across the board. But man, does it look beautiful from indoors in the air conditioning, as we like to call it here at Chris 6 News. This is office winter at all times. But man, the view from the Whataburger Skycam, the Whata Skycam as we like to call it, is just picturesque. The beautiful pinks and blues with the clouds dotting across looks great. But we can also see the glowiness of the lights, which, while aesthetically pleasing, indicates that we are rather humid out there, and that is our problem today. We are starting off on a warm note. It's not much relief from the overnight where it was very warm yesterday and the day before. So it all adds up to temperatures in those middle to upper 70s across our coastal bend neighborhoods. And with that slight shift in our wind direction today, notice it's not just a row of S's for that wind direction. We've got SSE, or south-southeast winds, and that does pick up a little bit more of a wind direction that draws in moisture from the Gulf and nearshore waters. That ups the humidity combined with hot temperatures. It's going to be a tough time today, especially for my long-haired friends. We got to make sure we stay cool and hydrated. But a few clouds out there, as you see behind me. Visibility is decent across most neighborhoods, but travels along 281. We'll have your visibility dropping to around 4 miles in Alice, 6 in Rockport along Highway 35. Most other folks doing okay. So we have yet another heat advisory on deck for us today. Same time, same place across most of our neighborhoods. We'll see that heat advisory go into effect at 1 p.m., lasts until 8 o'clock tonight. Even if you are not in a heat advisory, let's make sure we're staying cool out there. But in these neighborhoods shaded in orange, that's where we expect to have a feels like temperature of 110 to 114 that lasts for 2 hours or longer. So make sure you're staying cool, drinking plenty of water, and actually take those breaks inside to cool off, because as hydrated as you may be, you still need to cool your body down. And when it's humid, it's hard to do that because you can't perspire or sweat very efficiently. Gross, but it's science. So as we go hour by hour, temperatures are going to do a similar thing as they've done the past couple of days, get to those middle 90s, but with more humidity, it's going to feel hotter. Take, for example, noon. 90 degrees is going to feel like 101. Yesterday, noon was also going to feel like 90, but feel like 98. So we are upping the ante because of that extra humidity. It just makes it harder for your body to handle these conditions. But that may be deceiving considering it's breezy this morning, and we're going to be pretty gusty starting at the late morning hours, continue into the early evening hours. It's a humid breeze. Doesn't offer a whole lot of relief, and so that's why our heat risk today is going to be on the up and up for everybody, even those right on the water. Your heat risk is up now to a 2 out of 4 moderate heat risk, and a lot of red on this map, meaning 3 out of 4 major heat risks. So when do we finally get some relief? I've got that answer ahead.
You're watching Chris 6, part of the Scripps News Group.
move-over law is designed to help save lives on the road, but Texas DPS says too many drivers are ignoring it. I'm Alexis Scott, your neighborhood news reporter on North Beach, hitting the road with state troopers to learn why the move-over law is important and how drivers can avoid getting a ticket.
It's loud, fast, and risky. When state troopers pull drivers over, the shoulder of the road becomes their office. Every shift, with the possibility they may not come home. But this concern isn't just for law enforcement, it's for all drivers.
Moving over is a simple task that you as a driver can do. It's part of defensive driving.
State law enforcement are reminding drivers of the move over or slow down law, which has been in place for over 20 years. To learn more about the law, I hit the road with troopers on Wednesday. It requires drivers to move over or reduce their speed to 20 miles per hour below the speed limit when passing vehicles on the side of the road.
It's something we're tired of seeing, and we're trying to be safe out here. We're trying to keep the community safe. It's what we're out here to do. We're not trying to harp on people and make your day bad, but at the end of the day, we also have family and friends and people that we want to see come home and we want to go home to.
Since 2017, there have been 142 crashes involving DPS when drivers did not move or slow down. 42 troopers have been hurt and 2 killed. Here in the Coastal Bend, there have been 2 crashes involving DPS.
It's not a good feeling when they're going 75 miles per hour right by your window.
Now, you may ask, should I only pull over if it's law enforcement?
It could be a tow truck, a city worker, it could be the maintenance people for the electric co-ops, fire trucks, EMS.
Ignoring this law could hit you with a ticket and a hefty fine. There are worse consequences if you hurt or kill someone.
It just comes down to being distracted behind the wheel and not paying attention.
Texas DPS says whether you're driving on a highway or a back road, if you see flashing lights, move over or slow down. It's not just a rule, it's a life-saving habit. On North Beach, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Alexis Scott, KRIS 6 News.
Some great tips there. We have some other tips for you this morning. Heat safety, because it is going to be another hot one. And today I think might be difficult because we've had several days of grueling summer heat here in the month of May. And today we're upping the ante, higher heat risk, all because there's more humidity into this mix. So let's get right to it. Here's a look at the alert in effect starting at 1 p.m. for most of the Coastal Bend. Same time, same place. It's a heat advisory shown here in orange. Begins at 1 p.m., goes until 8 o'clock tonight. And that means in these areas shaded in orange, we will feel a heat index of 110 to as high as 114, lasting for a period of 2 hours or longer. So even if you're not in orange, let's follow the following safety tips. We want to make sure we take breaks to stay cool. Do that indoors in the air conditioning. If you work in an outdoor industry, I'm sure you've got a vehicle to get you to that site that has air conditioning. Hop on in, crank it up, and get that AC going so you can keep your body temperature cool. Because while I do need you to stay hydrated today, for every coffee you might have, pair that with an extra large glass of water. Staying hydrated simply isn't enough, because what becomes overwhelming for your body is that you are not able to sweat as efficiently, which is how you stay cool. When you sweat, the atmosphere, when it's drier, can evaporate your perspiration, as gross as that is. That is a heat exchange, latent heat, and it cools your body down. So when the atmosphere already has plenty of water, it doesn't want any of yours, and you don't cool down as efficiently. So on top of that, we need to look before we lock, because inside a vehicle can get very hot very quickly. Don't leave anyone or anything inside a hot vehicle. Not a good idea, especially in these conditions. But we're already warm this morning. Not a lot of relief during the overnight. Temperatures in those middle to upper 70s, and along the coast, we are already feeling like the lower 80s. So you can imagine where the day is going to take off from here. It's because our dew points are higher. We are in the 70s, and these dew points are pretty close to the actual air temperature too. So we've pretty much maxed out the amount of water the atmosphere is capable of holding in the first place. So oppressive humidity and hot temperatures that are warm for this time of the year means that by the time we head into the lunch hour, we're already going to be at 90 degrees. That will already feel like the triple digits. Yes, I know it's going to be breezy, and you might think, it won't be so bad, but it's a humid south-southeast wind direction that draws in moisture from the Gulf. That means our heat risk will be higher. Even for the extreme coastal neighborhoods, still going to be a 2 out of 4 moderate heat risk, which is hotter than yesterday. Most of us here Going to see that red, major heat risk today. Tomorrow, about the same, but inland, brush country neighborhoods really going to suffer with that 4 out of 4 extreme heat shown in purple. And then heading into Saturday, yes, we still need to be vigilant. It won't be quite as hot, but that humidity isn't backing down at all. What might offer a little bit of relief in our actual air temperatures coming down is this cold front that is not coming here, but it's going to sweep by us, and it's going to change our wind direction, our situation. So humidity stays on the up and up. How about those actual temperatures this weekend? I'll show you coming up.
The Supreme Court is getting ready to hear oral arguments about birthright citizenship. Coming up on Sunrise, Scripps News Group Joe St. George joins us, and he's going to break down today's case.
You're watching Chris 6, part of the Scripps News Group.
Welcome back, folks. It is going to be a big day in Washington. The Supreme Court is set to hear oral arguments in a case that stems from President Trump's desire to end birthright citizenship.
To talk about it, we have Scripps News Group Deputy Political Director Joe St. George joining us live this morning. Good morning, Joe. So can you break down this case for us and show us why it might be the biggest case involving President Trump and his presidential power?
Well, good morning from the United States Supreme Court. Depending on the outcome here, I mean, this could be the biggest case that the Supreme Court hears in 2025. At first glance, yes, this case is about, be easy to think this case is exclusively about the 14th Amendment, President Trump's desire to end birthright citizenship. Remember, he signed that executive order many months ago. He has an issue with that executive order, and that's the 14th Amendment, which says anyone born in the United States, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States. However, we are not expecting today's oral argument to decide whether or not President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship is constitutional or not. That's a legal fight for another day. And I know it's a bit complicated, but this case today is really about injunctions, specifically what are known as universal injunctions in law. How many times since January 20th have you or I reported a story about a federal district judge in some state blocking parts of the Trump agenda? It has frustrated President Trump and the White House. President Trump set a record actually thus far, and he's only a little more than 100 days into his second term, for the number of injunctions against any president. President Biden had a little less than 30 over 4 years. President Trump has nearly 40 in a little more than 100 days. The president has said that oftentimes he's referred to these injunctions as being from radical left-wing judges. The president believes this will lead to the destruction of our country. This concept of injunctions is something the Supreme Court has really had an itch to address for a while now, and today appears to finally be the day. There are some who say, wait a minute, 150 years ago, federal district judges weren't issuing injunctions like this, blocking presidential authority. Some have questioned if district judges have the constitutional ability to even block executive orders like they're doing right now. There's two outcomes here. One, the Supreme Court could keep the status quo, and if that's the case, you're going to expect to see the same kind of rhythm over the course of the next 3.5 years. Or they could seriously curtail what district judges are able to do. And if that's the case, well, that would be a huge victory for the Trump administration, an expansion a bit of presidential power, and make it a little bit easier for the Trump administration to carry out their agenda. So huge case, guys, massive implications on multiple fronts, especially when it comes to blocking a presidential directive.
Yeah, it's such a big deal. Thank you so much for the information, Joe.
Massive, massive implications. Thank you very much, sir. Looking forward to talking again very soon.
All right, good morning. Here is a gorgeous view from our CCAC camera. This one lives out at Snoopy's. And a couple of clues we can always get from weather observing. You see that texture there on the water? That's pretty shallow water in Laguna Madre. So it tells us that we are seeing some gusty conditions, but also a few clouds out there. That means we've got a little bit of turbulence and definitely a good deal of moisture. Now showing you the view behind me. This is our Wada Sky Cam. Been showing it all morning. I posted this on social media already. Just a gorgeous start to the day. A beautiful sunrise across the coastal bend, but even more enjoyable from indoors in the air conditioning because it is very warm here across the coastal bend and all the more humid. We were able to see some of those veils of mugginess under the glowy lights before we had this much daylight, but still a beautiful view. So with temperatures feeling this humid, we've got upper 70s across the board. It's the south-southeast wind. Yep. Getting a little bit more of an east component in our wind. That draws in more humidity, and since we haven't had much relief during the overnight, when I say relief, I mean we haven't cooled off all that much from yesterday's warm temperatures, it's going to set us up for an even hotter feels-like situation today. So that's even with the breezy conditions we've seen this morning pick up over the next couple of hours. But if you're heading up and out the door, we haven't had much trouble with traffic today. Do want to let you know about some reduced visibility in Alice along 281, down to 4 miles of visibility up in Rockport along Highway 35. That is 6 miles of visibility there. So for the rest of today, you can expect it to be a hot one. Today's heat alert, a heat advisory, same time, same place, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the same neighborhoods. But even if you're not in a heat advisory, let's take those heat safety tips seriously. This is July, August kind of weather that we're seeing right now. And what the orange neighborhoods will experience today is a feels-like temperature of 110 to 114 degrees that will last for 2 hours or longer, meaning it is going to feel like July and August. So you know the drill by now. Let's stay cool, take those breaks in the air conditioning to cool off, stay hydrated, and look before you lock. Never leave anyone or anything in a hot vehicle. Not a good idea with these conditions. Now, much like the past couple of days, we're going to see those temperatures soaring through the morning hours to about 90 degrees at lunchtime. Same deal as far as the actual air temperatures are concerned. We'll top out in those middle 90s today. The difference is we're going to see more of a breeze, and it's a humid breeze. So that means there's more humidity into the afternoon when we briefly reach those middle 90s. Yes, it will be breezy. Will that offer much relief? Probably not, because it's a humid wind bringing in moisture from our nearshore waters. That means our heat risk for everyone, including those along the coast, is going to be on the up and up. Today, everyone near the coast, a 2 out of 4 moderate heat risk, and in the red, a 3 out of 4 major heat risk. Tomorrow, the brush country is going to be struggling, 4 out of 4 extreme heat risk there in the purple, and we kind of keep this pattern going into the weekend. That'll be even with a little bit of relief for the actual air temperatures. Cold front moving by is not coming here. Don't get excited, but it is a sign that our weather pattern is changing a little bit. High pressure moving out over the Gulf of Mexico. Gulf of America is going to keep our humidity high, but actual air temperatures a little bit lower. So those very small changes to this equation mean that we are going to see actual air temperatures dropping to around 90 degrees this weekend. So not quite as hot, but still very humid. I hope that you'll continue to practice those heat safety tips as the heat goes on and on and on.
Partnering to protect students. I'm Tyrese Bull, and I'm here speaking with Tolosa Midway school leaders about the partnership with Driscoll Hospital and how they plan to keep athletes healthy.
Now, say hello to your neighbors. This is your Chris 6 News Sunrise Shoutouts.
Hey KRS and Sunrise team, my name is Jason Duronic, international artist in the Flower Bluff area, and I'd like to wish all my neighbors in the Coastal Bend area out there a great morning and a great day.
Hey Jason, we hope you have a great day too. Thank you so much for sending us this shout out video. And folks, if you want to send your own video, all you have to do is scan the QR code you see right there on your screen or go to our website, christv.com.
All right, we've got to get you ready to head up and out the door. So we're going to start off with this view from the WADA Skycam, this time zeroing in on the traffic on the Harbor Bridge that is currently in operation. Still a beautiful view of the sky, but even better, traffic is moving smoothly. That is probably the best view. So let's get to those roadways and now and show you. Yeah, it's a smooth ride between Portland and downtown Corpus Christi along 181. No issues to report. If you're coming down 37 or across 44, we're still looking good there, but check out the crosstown. Yeah, we're a little slow here. No major slowdowns, but those backups do go past Morgan. So if you don't want to deal with that, you could take an alternate route through downtown along Staples and catch 181 or 37 that way. Across Corpus Christi proper, we're looking good from the Bay Area down to the south side. And for those of you heading out to the Bluff, we're finally seeing smooth speeds approaching NAS Corpus Christi, speeds up around 30 miles per hour. The rest of the Bluff also looking pretty good. The Walton Road has been a little slower than usual. Keep that in mind. For those making the ride out to the island, perhaps up to Port A, it's looking like an easy one. So as you head out, make sure you stay safe and you drive safe. That's a look at your traffic report. I've got your weather on the 6s coming up.
You're watching Chris 6, part of the Scripps News Group.
I'm Erin Holly, your neighborhood news reporter in Corpus Christi. I'll introduce you to a middle school teacher who's trying to raise money to take his students on a trip that he believes would be a slam dunk for history lesson students. Families of Mr. Thornton's students tell me they wouldn't be able to afford to send their kids on this trip without these fundraising efforts. And students like Landon are hoping Mr. Thornton's fundraisers raise enough money for the trip. The Hoops for History fundraiser is scheduled for Saturday, May 24th at Miller High School and Driscoll Middle School. For more information, you can click on to ChrisTV.com. In Corpus Christi, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Erin Holly, Chris 6 News.
All right, good morning. Today's heat alert, same time, same place. A heat advisory in effect from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. It means in these neighborhoods highlighted in orange, we will feel as hot as 110 to 114, lasting for a period of 2 hours or longer. But even if you're not in the heat advisory, let's take those heat safety tips seriously, especially checking on the kids, the pets, and the elderly, because they're more susceptible to heat-related illness. So this is our baby Lola, and this little chunk likes to go for a nice long walk, but she does get overwhelmed by the heat pretty quickly. So take a page out of her book, shorter walks, more breaks indoors in the AC to cool off. We're going to see those temperatures reach 90 degrees again by lunchtime, and this time with a pretty gusty breeze. However, don't get excited. It's going to be a humid breeze, and with more humidity, that means that 90-degree reading we're expecting around noon is likely going to feel like the triple digits, hotter than we have been the past couple of days. For that reason, our heat risk all across the coastal bend is going to be one-upped today. By the coast, 2 out of 4 moderate heat risk. Inland neighborhoods, 3 out of 4 major heat risk. So please make sure you're checking in on your neighbors and making sure everybody is staying cool out there. We're going to see our actual air temperatures go down during the weekend, but still very high humidity. So continue practicing those heat safety tips as the heat goes on and on and on.
From Chris 6, this is 20 minutes of non-stop news.
Thank you so much for joining us for our 20 minutes of non-stop news with the Hoffmans. I'm Brian Hoffman.
And I'm Michelle Hoffman. We'll check in with meteorologist Stephanie Lauber in just a bit.
That's right. But first, we told you about the possible closures of Shannon Estate and Castores Elementary. And neighborhood news reporter Tony Jaramillo was able to take a look inside and actually see the challenges that both these two schools are facing.
I'm Tony Jaramillo, your neighborhood news reporter on the south side. Shannon Estates Elementary and Castores Elementary have both recently faced potential closures for different reasons. And CCISD took me on an exclusive tour of both campuses, and here's where things stand now.
So you have a lot of water holding in between in those classrooms itself. So once that water holds there, it's really gets stagnant and it can just seep through that system.
The first stop of my tour with CCISD's Executive Director of Construction and Project Management, Trent Wagner, was at Shannon Estate Elementary. He says the 27-year-old roof needs to be replaced and the W-shaped roof is also a problem. The roof's unique design causes rainwater to collect and leak into classrooms, and the water can also contain asbestos.
This classroom does have that asbestos ceiling coating on there for the fire protection.
Despite the asbestos, Wagner says the district feels confident it is safe as they have not started any abatement process which would release the asbestos into the air.
It's still an issue that needs to be rectified.
The building's plumbing and chiller lines are also failing.
This place also needs a complete reroute underneath. Inside the walls, outside, in the ground.
As you can see here, concrete is cracking throughout the campus and along the roof line. Wagner tells me most of these are hairline cracks and have not resulted in any injury or accident.
Once that stuff is known, we really try to do our best to get out here and do it. Sometimes it takes some specialty concrete mix to get it right so we don't have that issue again.
Shortly after, Wagner took me to Castores Elementary, which has issues of its own, including a 33-year-old roof that also leaks and needs replacing, and a 14-year-old chiller system that was taken from Crockett Elementary before it was demolished.
Cold water lines need to be replaced. The entire chiller system needs to be revamped.
The plumbing is also unreliable due to the aging cast iron system, causing sewage backups that forces students to be moved out of their classrooms. It's an issue that the district says happens about once or twice a month.
It is a hindrance. It is an issue. It can be a significant one, especially if it's not caught in time.
During the April 18th finance meeting, the district's maintenance director told school board members the portables at Castores Elementary were deteriorating. Castores Elementary has 8 portables and Shannon Estates Elementary has 3. Those portables house several classrooms. During my tour, I noticed they had uneven floors. Wagner explained how humidity seeps through the floor, causing damage to the floor tiles.
Up underneath that foundation, it really starts deteriorating that subfloor.
CCISD has spent $100,000 this year in maintenance costs for the schools, and it will cost $11 million to address the immediate needs. So why not build new schools? Do the math. The district says it costs about $45 million to build a new school. Despite the issues I saw, Wagner says the district is confident that students and staff are safe and says the campuses will remain open for at least the 2025-2026 school year. For now, CCISD says there's no set date for when discussions about either campus will resume. On the South Side, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tony Jaramillo, Chris 6 News.
The move-over law is designed to help save lives on the road, but Texas DPS says too many drivers are ignoring it. I'm Alexis Scott, your neighborhood news reporter on North Beach, hitting the road with state troopers to learn why the move-over law is important and how drivers can avoid getting a ticket.
State law enforcement are reminding drivers of the move over or slow down law, which has been in place for over 20 years. To learn more about the law, I hit the road with troopers on Wednesday. It requires drivers to move over or reduce their speed to 20 miles per hour below the speed limit when passing vehicles on the side of the road.
Be a tow truck, a city worker, it could be the maintenance people for the electric co-ops, fire trucks, EMS.
Ignoring this law could hit you with a ticket and a hefty fine. There are worse consequences if you hurt or kill someone.
Good morning, happy Thursday. While we are looking at yet another hot day, of course, heat wave isn't done just yet. Today is going to be a little different, and you need to be mindful more so of that heat today because we have increased humidity. So that is going to make it very, very hard to stay cool today, even though our temperatures may not look very different or very intimidating at all. Let's break it all down for you. We're starting off with this view over the sparkling city by the sea. And every once in a while, this is our WADA Skycam turned around looking at downtown. Every once in a while, we do see that shaky quality, but of course doesn't want to do it right now. Either way, it is a breezy start this morning, and that breeze is what's going to make all the difference today. For instance, take a look at the fact that we're sitting in those middle to upper 70s this morning. We haven't seen a lot of cool down from yesterday afternoon's heat. That means we're already off to a very warm start, and we can only get hotter from here. Sunshine is now starting to pour down across the coastal bend, and even though we have a good breeze going this morning, look at that wind direction. It's a little different today. It's coming from the south-southeast. We don't have a row of S's here, and that east component means we're getting a fetch from the nearshore waters that is going to be bringing us more humidity, and that is the difference. That is what makes hot temperatures feel even more oppressive. And so far, it's also reducing visibility in a few places. Alice down to 4 miles of visibility. Rockport, you're at 6. Port A, you are at 7 miles of visibility. So be careful as you head up and out the door. We've got a heat alert on deck, same place, same time. So from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m., the counties you see here in orange will be under a heat advisory, meaning that we are going to feel as hot as 110 degrees, possibly up to 114 degrees, and that is expected to last for 2 hours or longer. Even if you are not under the heat advisory, pretend that you are. We need to practice those heat safety tips. Make sure you're taking those breaks indoors to stay cool, stay hydrated, and look before you lock. Never leave anyone or anything in a hot vehicle. Not a good idea. And check in on the puppers. This is our pupper, Lola. And you know what? She'll let you know when she thinks it's too hot. She heads right for the door and she will bark until you let her in. You need to make sure that they have shorter walks and more time indoors to stay cool because remember, we sweat to cool down. They pant so that moisture evaporates off their tongue to stay cool. It's a little bit tougher for our four-legged friends. Kids, pets, and the elderly are more susceptible to heat-related illness, and while today is going to look pretty similar with temperatures rising to around 90 degrees at lunchtime, there's more of a breeze. It's a humid breeze, so that means our feels-like temperatures will be worse today, reaching the triple digits by lunchtime, and yes, that is with gusty, disrespectful winds. So our heat risk is higher all across the coastal bend today, between a 2 and a 3 out of 4 for heat risk. Tomorrow, about the same, but worse for our neighbors out in the brush country, and still the case into Saturday. So please continue to do what you're doing to stay cool out there. Actual air temperatures improve this weekend, but the humidity does not. So even though it won't be quite as hot, let's make sure we're staying cool.
Now, 6 things to know before you go.
All right, ladies and gents, it is that time for list of 6 things you need to know before heading out the door.
The U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear oral arguments today in a case about birthright citizenship. Last month, the justices allowed an executive order to temporarily remain in place that substantially limited birthright citizenship. Now, birthright citizenship automatically makes anyone born in the United States an American citizen, including children born to mothers in the country illegally. 22 states and immigrants' rights groups that have sued to block the executive order say the administration is trying to upend a longtime understanding of the 14th Amendment.
Well, back here at home, Mayor Paulette Guajardo has appointed 3 new members to the Housing Authority Board. The new members are former Mayor Joe McComb, former council member Greg Smith, and school counselor Judith Gonzalez Rodriguez. The change comes just 1 day after City Council unanimously voted to oppose the Housing Authority's tax exemption practices. Housing Authority's CEO Gary Alsup defends the purchases, saying that they are a legal workforce initiative for middle-income families. At Tuesday's council meeting, City Manager Peter Zanoni warned that these transactions could cost the city up to $7 million in lost revenue.
Nueces County officials will be in Petronila today to inspect other areas of the neighborhood that might need to be included in storm cleanup. On Wednesday, brush trucks from Frontier Waste Solutions began picking up the debris in Petronila estates. Last Thursday, storms ravaged the area, leaving many without power and others without homes. Pickup will continue through Friday, stop for the weekend, and then start back up again on Monday.
Just a quick reminder, folks, if you need a place to keep cool today, we're going to show you. This isn't just an empty screen. They are the libraries and senior centers as cooling centers. Neighbors are invited to stop on by normal business hours. So hours vary depending on the location. CCRTA will be offering free bus rides. All you have to do is tell the bus driver that you're traveling to a cooling center.
So the new Ollie's store in Calallen is open. Ollie's is known for their bargain prices, from brand names, home goods to electronics, and even books and toys. Ollie's has just about everything. Ollie's in Calallen is across the street from Walmart in the old Big Lots building on IH-69.
You're gonna have to go check that out. Well, hey, do you need an idea for dinner? How about Chick-fil-A? Faith and Hope Dog Rescue is actually teaming up with the Chick-fil-A on Saratoga to raise funds for their organization. You can stop on by that Chick-fil-A at 5929 and mention Spirit Night when you place that order. 15% of your order purchase will go to the animal rescue. Faith and Hope Dog Rescues are dedicated to giving abandoned, abused, and neglected animals a second chance at life.
All right, are you getting ready to head up for that morning commute? Well, you have a gorgeous view awaiting you. Some crepuscular rays, I should say. Those are those lines of sunshine you see there in the clouds. Might be a little hard to see here, but either way, a beautiful view from the WADA Skycam. And if you are one of our neighbors traveling over the Harbor Bridge here soon, as you see from this view, an easy commute. Let's get right to those roadways across the bay. 361, Park Road 22 and the JFK Causeway looking just as lovely for that commute and for the views too. Heading to the Bluff, not as slow. We're doing much better. Speeds up around 30 miles per hour on the approach to NAS Corpus Christi. We've still had some sluggishness on Waldron Road, but it's the usual activity, just moving a little more slowly today. Moving into town from the south side up to the Bay Area, we're looking good, all except that crosstown interchange at 37. We're still slow with backups behind Morgan. You take Staples through downtown as an alternate, and as we showed you a few minutes ago, that ride along the Harbor Bridge 181 is looking good. As you head out, make sure you stay safe and you drive safe. That's a look at your traffic report. One more check of your forecast is coming at you.
I'm Tari Spoon, your Northwest Neighborhood News reporter. Getting hurt is a part of sports, but experts say 90% of student athletes are still injured while playing. School leaders at Toloso Midway talked with me about teaming up with Driscoll Children's Hospital to help keep athletes safe. The Tuloso Midway Independent School District is one of many districts used to dealing with student athletes getting hurt.
Sometimes people want to blame the turf. You know, they want to blame, CTE is a real big deal now with concussions. Heat is another one that's been big with UILs.
James Villarreal, Tuloso Midway's athletics director, says he believes having more trainers on deck would be a help.
We have two full-time trainers right now, and they do an amazing job, but if we can add more training staff, also it helps their workload.
According to the district superintendent, the team at Driscoll's Children's Hospital understand. The hospital offered a free partnership to keep an athletic trainer on standby for the district. Superintendent Steve Van Maitre tells me the trainer would work to 40 hours a week, helping maintain health management, injury prevention, and concussion protocol for all student athletes.
The partnership between the district and the hospital is expected to begin in July. On the Northwest side, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tyrese Boone, Chris 6 News.
There's lots of benefits to exercising outside, but those benefits come with a risk, a health risk, especially with temperatures starting to warm up. I'm Michaela Chavez, your Sunrise Neighborhood News reporter on the South Side. Now, whether you prefer walking, biking, running, doing any kind of physical activity outside, you might want to keep a few things in mind heading in to the upcoming forecasts. I met with Demetrius Griffin and Carrie Brown before one of their morning walks in Corpus Christi.
We're doing basic cardio.
The cousins tell me they do it a few times a week. This walk led them to Cole Park.
To get some sun and, a good sweat.
And they aren't the only ones taking their workouts out the door.
It's always a good amount of people out here in the mornings and like around 6 in the evenings too. I think that's more packed than it is in the mornings.
But with warmer days ahead, Carrie is shifting her routine.
I like to switch my cardio up, and sometimes I do like the treadmill, the Stairmasters, the bike.
If your workout routine doesn't ride on getting an outdoor sweat in, Carrie suggests you get moving in the evening or rise earlier in the morning. She knows both times allow for cooler weather.
So usually I like to come out roughly around between 8 and 10.
Dimitri says don't forget finding an indoor gym.
Because it does get pretty hot. I'm pretty versatile. Like I said, I like to do a little bit of both.
If gyms aren't your thing, taking a class like yoga, swimming, cycling, or Zumba could be an option. All requires energy and helps break a sweat without much of a risk. No matter how anyone works out in triple-digit temperatures, Carrie says keep safety first.
Have you like a bottle of water, a nice cold towel, shades, a hat, stay hydrated and get that sweat in.
And remember, while anybody can get heat exhaustion, children, elderly, and pets are more prone to heat-related illnesses. You know your body more than anyone. Don't put your health at risk. On the South Side, I'm your Sunrise Neighborhood News reporter, Michaela Chavez, Chris 6 Sunrise.
Over in San Antonio, changes are coming to the Alamo, and our Coastal Bend history team was there to check it out. The Alamo hosted a topping off ceremony Wednesday for the Texas Cavaliers Education Center, Cavaliers. It's the future home for the students to learn about history through hands-on education, although the new center is not set to open until March 6th of next year. The ceremony was still held to celebrate the progress. You can learn about it in a special Coastal Bend history segment on the Alamo that will air later on this month. Our full team was over there too. Pretty cool stuff. So it is now time for a full look at our forecast, right?
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Speaking of which, I think we can't ignore the fact that our Coastal Bend history team, we call them the Cavaliers of history, going up there and just baking in that San Antonio heat. Because while we deal with that hot humidity and hot temperatures, they don't get any relief from the sea breeze. They just feel that baking feeling, triple-digit temperatures. So they went up there and they risked that heat so they could bring us a really cool history story. I'm excited to see where this one goes.
Oh, they had a good time too.
They had a good time. It was hot, but they had a good time. It was worth it. We are going to be feeling hot, but is it worth it to be outside for prolonged periods of time? On a Thursday, I'm not too sure about that. I know a lot of folks have been out running, training for Beach to Bay. Please be careful. Try to avoid the hottest part of the day because it can be dangerous to your health. Michaela Chavez gave us some great tips there to avoid that time frame. There's other ways you can train while staying cool. We have another heat advisory in effect for today. Same time, same place. The same counties in orange here. Going to see that heat advisory starting at 1 p.m. and going till 8 o'clock tonight. It means in these areas we will feel as hot as 110 to 114. For 2 hours or longer, so not really letting up. Even if you're not in a place that is shaded in orange, please continue to stay cool, stay hydrated, take those breaks in the AC to cool off. You need to get your body temperature to stay cool with these conditions. This morning might be hard to do that because it's already warm. We're in those middle to upper 70s, feeling like the lower 80s along our coastal neighborhoods. And yes, being on the coast, you tend to stay cooler. You're the first neighbors to feel the sea breeze in the afternoon, but today, your heat risk is also going to be on the up and up, so please be careful. Dew points are oppressive today in the 70s and not far off from the actual air temperatures. That's how you know we've pretty much maxed out the amount of humidity we could have in the air relative to the temperature right now. So if you're going to take your pup for a walk, this is my pup Lola. Lola will let you know when it is too hot. She will bark at the door until you let her in, and you don't want to wait until that point comes. Make sure you're going for the shorter walks and plenty of time to cool off inside. We'll be at around 90 degrees by noon and breezy, but the humidity not letting up. Take a look at the temperature versus what your body perceives the temperature to be here. We're going to feel like the triple digits already by lunchtime, so please take this seriously. Our heat risk is higher for all neighborhoods here across the coastal bend today, and we're going to be pretty high up on the scale. So let's make sure we are staying cool. There's some relief this weekend. Won't be quite as hot, but yes, still hot with temperatures warmer than we usually see them. While the temperatures are going down, the humidity is not. So.
I love how 90s is not quite as hot.
Yeah, right? And it's May. It's May.
Well, thank you so much, Steph, and thank you, folks, for joining us this sunrise. We hope to see you guys tomorrow, and we'll see you at noon.
Bye everyone.